Reclaiming Timeless Ways, another episode underway, number 62. Mike Traster, Simon Fuller, glad to have you with us.
Nope.
And Mike, another topic. You are the mastermind.
Hardly.
You are the mind.
I don't mind.
Our
What is it?
epis-
I don't mind and it don't matter.
Today's episode,
It is.
what's it called?
Medical statistics.
Okay, yeah, and I know you've got some medical background.
I
And
was-
not only that, you're a studious individual.
Sometimes.
You're probably going to blow me out of the water with this one. I don't even know what you're going to say, but I doubt I'll have much to add.
I'm going to say only one thing that'll blow some people out of the water.
Okay?
Okay.
Shoot.
I was just following a rabbit hole once about surgical procedures, right?
Okay.
This is over 10 years ago.
Okay.
So it's a while back, but still very current. And I wanted to know what the failure rate for this surgery was.
Okay.
So I wrote, what's the failure rate or the death rate, right? Those may or may not be the same, because a failure might just mean, well, I have to do it again.
Sure.
But death, that's a whole different story.
That is the end, yeah.
Right, you're done. So I go down this rabbit hole and I find some numbers. And then it gives me another notation to follow, so I go down that one and it says, these statistics are age adjusted. What? What the hell does that mean?
Right.
Right? So I go find, the little notation. I chase it down. So if you're 30, the percentage of failures is more like 1-to-1. But what they do is they age adjust it. So it's preloaded in the favor of the surgeon, so they don't show the failures. They reduced the percentage of failures by factoring in the age of the patient.
So the older you are, the less likely something is to take, so it's more likely it would happen, so it doesn't count? Is
They
that what you're kind of
adjusted
saying?
it. They adjusted it. They lied.
Yeah.
They lied. So if you're 80 and you're 3 times as prone to that failure, they factored that in so it smooths out the curve. They lie, right? So you go in there feeling 3 times safer than you are because they lied. That's fraud, right? And it's fraud with a horrendous outcome, right? So, how are they adjusted? Are they adjusted by age, by diet, by race, by illness, by habits, by smoking, by drinking, right? By your genetic predisposition?
Sure.
You have to find these things out because they will lie to you just before they get on their yacht. Shame about Joe. Let's go for a nice yacht ride. All right. So the question is, are you getting all the facts, or is your attention like the magic show? When you see a professional magician, when they talk about what they do, they say, well, it's sleight of hand, but they're redirecting your attention,
Sure.
right? Well, that's fine, because that's entertainment. That's not life and death,
Right.
right? So,
But some of that exists in real life, is what you're saying. There's a parallel. It's not exact sleight of hand, but it is.
it is sleight of hand, but the one, one is a medical fraud,
Right.
right? So, how dare you do that? So, the next thought comes from that. Somebody I knew was having some gastric issues. Went to the doc, and the doc said, well, we're going to put you on Tagamet to reduce acidity in the stomach. And I said, well, I read some studies, and they're using antibiotics to treat ulcers and pre-ulcers. He goes, where's that? This is a very good doctor, very smart guy. And I said, it was done in Perth Hospital in Australia. He looks at me and he sneers and leans his head back like he's leaning away from rotting food. And he goes, we don't pay attention to those studies. We don't pay attention. Why not? They're not from the United States. Oh, those are the only people that are educated and intelligent
Right.
and skillful?
Right.
Well, turns out, not too many years after that, that they found that there was a bug called a Heliobacter. I think they call it a Campylobacter now. It's the same bug, just a new name. 85% of the time, ulcers were caused by bacterial infection of the gastric mucosa, the lining of the stomach. They treat it with antibiotics,
Right.
right? And it just so happened that doctors who practiced medicine, who went to medical school, who practiced in Australia, were obviously too stupid to be able to figure this out because they weren't American. Well, you know, I'm very patriotic, but I'm not pro-stupidity
Right.
or arrogance. And it's like, why don't you ask a question like, what were the conditions of your study? Who did it? You know, are they good at what they do? Have you read anything, any, you know, peer reviews on them? You know, how long have they been practicing gastroenterology, you know? Or were they just, did they get a PhD or an MD from a mail order house for $5.95?
Right.
Or are they actual docs,
Right.
right? So, medical interactions, I remember we had, there was an allergy med, I think it was called Seldane. And, oh, it was the best thing that ever was because it kept your allergies at bay without making you sleepy, which didn't used to be the case.
Right.
Like there was a med called clofeniramine maleate, tiny little pill, 2 milligrams. You'd take that, you'd get groggy as all hell, and you'd stop sneezing. You know, oh, I feel good. I think I'm going to go to sleep. And anyway, so people started dropping dead. A lot. And they were like, well, what in the hell is going on? Well, it found out that it was interacting with erythromycin, if I remember right. And it was causing fatal cardiac arrhythmias, right? Which means there were facts either never properly researched or they were left out. Now, I didn't research this to validate it, this next point. So I'm going to say it with that proviso, okay?
Okay.
So I'm not stating it as an absolute fact. It's something I heard like in the last 3-4 days. 25%, according to this comment that I heard, of the meds that the FDA approves are eventually rejected for safety matters.
Wow.
Right. If it was 10%, which is 2.5 times less than that, that would be outrageous.
Right.
Right? So these FDA managers started off, 80% of them from the research I have done, started off in the pharmaceutical industry. How pure are their motives?
Yeah.
80+% of the bigwigs in the FDA came out of the pharmacy industry, right? Working for pharmaceutical corporations, right? Are they corrupt? That's a whole topic.
Yeah, it's interesting, Mike. I mean, at the end of it, I'm thinking to myself, you know, what do you want me to do with that? That's always my goal for the viewers to say, okay, what do I take and how do I apply that to my life? And it's kind of your core here is to just, you know, sort of like our last show with the news and truth, sort of that same theme of, you know, dig a little deeper because you just can't always necessarily believe what's on the surface, because that was a bit of my takeaway there is dig. You owe it to yourself to dig because you just can't always trust stuff anymore.
No, you can't. So my double question is, does the FDA do some good? I would think yes. Is the FDA generally honest? I don't think so.
Yeah,
I don't think so.
yeah,
And that's after reading hundreds of articles over many years, where it's like, wow, oh, ooh, geez, like the old comedy skit where this guy kept getting hit in the face with a pie. There was a lot of pie, a lot of pie. It was a soupy sales. Funny as hell, except it makes dead people.
yeah,
Well, that's not funny,
no,
So do I trust the FDA? No.
yeah,
I'm going to say it again. I do not trust the FDA. I think that they're systemically corrupted to the point where they're dangerous. My opinion. Do your own research. Don't just blindly trust. We trust because we're afraid. I would better trust them because we'll get lucky and the right thing will happen. That's a stupid reason to trust.
yeah.
So do your research.
All right. Well, thank you, Mike. Appreciate you joining us for yet another edition of Reclaiming Timeless Ways. Wishing you the best of days.